The theme for Thursday of this past week was hunger. In the morning, Darla was here and gave out bags of food from our pantry program. Did you know that we give away 10 to 15 pretty large bags of food to our neighbors who are in need? This program is one that you can participate in by bringing some non-perishable items. You can bring those to the office from 8:30 to 10 any morning, or on Wednesday from 11 to noon when we do the communion, or you could give a check and we'll do the shopping for you. But to be honest, we kind of like it when you just bring the food. At the same time that Darla was giving out food here at church, Susie and Pat and I met over at Steve Owen Park with other members of the Crop Hunger Walk group, and we put together a video to share on their Facebook page. The walk this year is a virtual walk, and that means that we won't be getting together as a big group and walking the same 5 kilometers. We'll be doing that wherever we are in small groups. And this year, it's on October 10th. And Pat has set a pretty lofty goal. But when Pat sets a goal, we usually make it. Her goal is $500 this year. And that means we have some giving to do. The best way to do this is to go online to crophungerwalk.org/Lancaster, California. If you didn't get all of that, rewind or just Google it like I did. Once you get to the site, it's pretty easy to find either Lancaster or Lutheran Church of the Master as a team, or Dr. Pat Williams as an individual, so that you can press the donation button and find those there and make your donation through the website. You can also leave a church here, or a check here at church for that. It was made clear on Thursday morning while we were doing the video that 3/4 of the money raised through the Crop Walk goes to the National Crop Walk organization that does worldwide or global efforts to fight hunger and to provide clean water for folks, and the other 1/4 of the money stays right here in the Antelope Valley to feed those that we know have so much need. Were you aware that in America, 1 in 8 homes has trouble coming up with enough food to feed themselves and their children? I couldn't find statistics specific to the Antelope Valley, but we all know that we are way below what the national average is, and that the need is great here in the valley. When we were doing a project for Living the Resurrection, one of the things that we did was go on the public schools websites. And when you look at the statistics on there, you can see what percentage of households in the area of that school qualify for free lunches, free meals. I guess it's breakfast and lunch, isn't it, Greg? Breakfast and lunch is what they qualify for. And here on the east side, almost every school, it's like 90% of the households are at that poverty level that qualifies for free food every day at school. Now, of course, the kids aren't going to school every day, so it's a challenge for them to get that food. But it was just staggering to me to see the percentage of homes in this area that qualify for the school meals. So what else are we going to do besides give away 10 to 15 bags of food? That's not a lot for this area. We're doing the Crop Walk. That's great for this area and the global area. But what else can we do? Over the last 2 years, our Living the Resurrection team has been working towards provocative proposals and holy innovations. Before the pandemic, we were beginning to work with Grace Resources to put together a holy innovation, a community fair here on our campus where people can come and learn about all of the different organizations in our community that help those who have a need. Now, of course, when the pandemic hit, that was put on the back burner, and since March, not much has happened with the Living the Resurrection process. And Pastor Marge, who is the assistant to the bishop and the leader of the Living the Resurrection program, we've had some Zoom meetings during this COVID time, and she's urged us to look for holy innovations that we can do in the midst of pandemic time. At the last council meeting, Linda Adams noticed that we have money set aside in accounts for outreach and for food. And she wanted to know why we couldn't do a drive-through food giveaway. Well, let me tell you, when Linda gets an idea in her head, it is best for me to get out of the way and let her get to work. Thursday afternoon, the expanded Living the Resurrection team, minus Darla because she had to be at her school job, got together with Diane from First Assembly Church here in Lancaster. They are a hub for a group that works with local farmers to distribute boxes of fresh vegetables and fruit to our community. And we learned from Diane that starting in October, they're going to have prepackaged 30-pound boxes with dairy, with meat, with veggies, and with fruit in them. Whatever they get that week is what will be in those 30-pound boxes, and we can get as many boxes as we think we can give away. And at the same meeting, we learned from Susie Berg, as she's been working with Grace Resources on behalf of the Living the Resurrection team, that Grace Resources has contacts with the Los Angeles Food Bank. And we can get 20-pound boxes of non-perishable food through Grace Resources and the LA County Food Bank. Now, what are we going to do with 30 pounds of fresh food and 20 or so pounds of dried food? Well, of course, Linda, we're going to have a drive-through food giveaway program, right? Now, this is a program that's going to take a lot of effort. And we realize that we're a small church and that this big effort, we probably can't do it every week like some of the churches are doing, but we can do it once a month. And we're going to do it on the third Saturday of each month. And so we could use some help. You can contact Linda if you want to help with this program. I think it's going to make a huge difference in this neighborhood. Or you can pray. Pray that this is a ministry that we can do ongoing, that we can have the energy and vitality to keep doing it, and that it blesses this neighborhood, this east side of Lancaster. Diane, the woman from First Assembly, told us that they're working with about 12 churches that are doing the same thing, the drive-through food giveaways, but we don't think that any or many of them are working with Grace to have the dried, non-perishable foods as part of it, and most of them are on the west side of Lancaster. And as we know, there's a huge need here on the east side, So this will be a wonderful food program for this side of town and our neighbors that are in so much need. As you can tell, I'm excited about this program. And exciting days like Thursday are about far more than talking about hunger. The day was really about compassion. In the psalm that we read this morning, it says, "Lead me in the path of your commandments, for I delight in it. Turn my heart to your decrees and not to selfish gain. Turn my eyes from looking at vanities. Give me life in your ways." Turn my heart to your decrees and not to selfish gain. What we do, whether we do it by ourselves or whether we do it as a group, as a church, we do for the glory of God. And when we do these things for the glory of God, we do them for the lost, the last, the least, and the little. Compassion is a process of caring for others in the midst of their needs. Compassion is what God is calling us to through this psalm that we read. In all of our different programs, there are ways to add compassion to what we are doing. But compassion can be draining. I mistakenly think that some days I have a compassion bucket. And there's only so much compassion that fits into my compassion bucket. And when it gets to be later in the day and I have been compassioning all day, I feel like my compassion bucket is getting pretty close to empty. And I'm thinking that the next person that asks me for something is probably going to get what they asked for, but not with much joy in my heart. I know that I should not look at my compassion bucket from a sense of scarcity, but from a sense of just overflowing ability to provide for others. The end of Psalm 23 says, "You anoint my head with oil, my cup overflows. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I shall dwell in the house of the Lord my whole life long." Now there is the proper way to look at my compassion bucket. Overflowing, knowing that the Lord is with me my whole life long. Compassion doesn't mean just caring for those right in front of us. It also means working to alleviate the root causes of hunger, homelessness, racism, sexism, and all the other isms that are prevalent in our society today. At 7 o'clock Saturday morning, 8 guys descended on Lutheran Church of the Master. They all had masks on. Most of them were carrying some kind of equipment. Some of them looked like it might be weapons. But they were from a commercial landscape company. I'm excited that we are finally getting the front part of our church back into shape with COVID and with our folks just seem to be getting older and unable to do a lot of the volunteer things that we've been able to do in the past. Our front area, quite honestly, has looked pretty trashy the last couple of months. And so the church council has looked at ways that we might get things cleaned up, knowing that we don't have the people and the equipment and the energy to do everything that needed to be done. When Our Savior's Lutheran church in Lancaster closed its doors, they gave us a financial gift as one of their closing blessings. And church council decided that spending money on a commercial landscape company would be a great way to use some of that money to beautify our church, to get the front looking green and trimmed, to get rid of the tumbleweeds and all of that stuff that looked so bad. So if you drive by any time where you come on Wednesdays for communion, you will see the difference that they have made in just one morning, and the differences that they will continue to make as they get all of our sprinkler systems up and going, and a regular time of mowing and trimming things. But I bring all of that up because when I was looking at the men working, I could tell, even with their masks on, that every one of them has a skin tone several shades darker than my own. As I watched them work, I had to wonder where compassion comes into play with these men. We have, after all, offered them an honest day's work at an honest wage, haven't we? Or have we? I would bet that the newest and youngest of these men are working for minimum wage or close to it. Where is the compassion in that? I heard this week that nowhere in the United States can you pay rent and have food and insurance and the other things of life working 40 hours a week at minimum wage. Getting to the root of many of our national and even global problems means that we use our compassion to work for real and lasting change. In less than 2 months, we will be voting for a president, for senators, for congresspersons. These are people who have the ability to enact systemic change in our society. They are the ones that should be working on our behalf. They are the ones that should be working for the lost, the last, the least, and the little. They are also the ones that should be working at our behest. We should be contacting them on a regular basis to let our desires be known to them. How are they to govern if they don't know what it is that we need, what it is that we want to see in our own communities and across the nation and across the world? Part of being a compassionate Christian in this time and place is making sure that we vote. And when we vote, it's imperative that we consider our Christian ideals. When we choose a candidate to vote for, it is important for us to look for someone with compassion and integrity. I can't tell you who to vote for. That's against the law. I can't give you a person to vote for. But I can tell you, when you vote, vote your Christian conscience. Back in March, it seems that we shut everything down other than worship. And then we started communion. But now, as you heard, it seems like there's an awful lot going on around here. It is my prayer that you will each find a way to participate in some of these hunger programs, especially with prayers for our new drive-through food program. Did I mention that none of those boxes of food cost us a nickel? They are all provided by others, and we simply get to bless people by giving them out. I leave you this morning reminding you of the first part of the psalm that we heard today. Teach me, O Lord. Teach me the way of your statutes. and I will observe it to the end. Give me understanding that I may keep your law and observe it in my whole heart. Amen. Our song is, when our song says peace.